Hey everyone, I just want to share some thoughts on the difference between renting in New York City and then living in a co-op. I made the transition to living in a co-op in 2021. I moved out of Brooklyn and then to the Bronx. So there's some pluses and minuses on both sides. I just want to give you, I don't know if I could do it justice in one video here, but I want to give you some insight onto what I've experienced. Um, I do miss Brooklyn a lot. I do miss my own neighborhood, Sunset Park, just that community there, the vibe and everything. Um, but what I found renting is that you can run into issues if you don't vibe with your roommate really well, or there's some sort of conflict. I have two pets, two cats, and I've had roommates where like they get angry with me or there's some beef about something, and then they're like, I'll throw your cat out, or something like that. Some things can pop up like that. I've had roommates just leave and skip town, and or they move out, and then you're pressed in this position where it's like, oh no, like I have to find another roommate because and you have to sort through that process of trying to find someone so that you can pay the rent because you can't pay the rent. I couldn't pay the rent all on my own when I was living in Brooklyn. It's just at the time, this was like um, just as we're kind of getting out of the pandemic, it was like 1,900 or $22,000 a month. I couldn't swing that. Um, I could, but it would be super tight. It just wasn't. I didn't want to go through that anymore. Um, I got very lucky and I got into a Habitat for Humanity co-op and I got into that and I went through the whole process and there's a lot of perks to that. I'm living alone. I have my own apartment. I don't have to worry about roommates. Um, the change that happens though in a co-op is that you have this structure where in theory everyone's supposed to work together collectively so that we all work towards our best interests in the building and that you have a board which I joined the board. I went up, got onto the board in 2023, and did it so that I could make decisions about the building. I cared about the building, the quality of life here in the building, and I wanted to step up and be part of that. Um, it does come a lot with a lot of sacrifice. It's like volunteering for something. It's like community service, and sometimes it's more stressful than it's more stressful being in the board sometimes than it is being at work, doing my actual job at work. Um, it's I think that what's been unique about this situation in this particular Habitat for Humanity building, Bronx, is um, in the Williamsbridge section of the Bronx, is that the construction of the building wasn't done right. So that we're living in this constant construction project and then negotiating with the habitat and then negotiating with the management to get things done. Um, in a cooperative, you definitely need management. Technically, well, not technically, as shareholders, you are the owner of the building, but there's so many day-to-day things that need to be managed, like bills that need to be paid and other things that need to be done, coordinating with contractors and inspectors, and you need the technical advice from management as well as Habitat for Humanity, which in this scenario and the particular building that I'm in, it's a co-op, but it's a unique kind of co-op where it's an HDFC co-op. So it's a housing fund development corporation. And these were set up when in the 1970s and the 80s in New York City when landlords were just abandoning the buildings, and it gave an opportunity for the tenants to buy the buildings, preserve the housing. Um, we're approaching 2025. We're still going through the process of getting things fixed. I'm not going to lie, that Habitat for Humanity is they're great on some things, and then others they've really made it difficult. They've made it more of this process of like, oh, show us evidence this doesn't work. So the burden of proof about something not working falls back on us. I think that recently there's been a change in the CEO of the local New York City Habitat for Humanity, and I think that she's brought a lot of better energy and policies into getting things done. So that's been helpful. Um, Dealing with proper the property management companies, they the current one that we have, finger management, that's a mixed bag. Sometimes they suck. Um, they'll straight up lie to you. Um, I have no problem with that in a meeting. Like we've caught them lying. Uh, I don't have, we just sort of deal with them in the mix with us right now. Um, I wish they'd be more forthcoming and not lie, but it's it's a real pain in the ass. But the plus is I have my own apartment. I don't have to worry about roommates. I have one bedroom apartment, and the amount of money that would normally go as profit to a landlord, that's not a part of the equation. Everything is expensive after the pandemic. Um, we're looking at doing a 15% raise in the maintenance or the common. That's all the money that needs to go in to pay for everything. This is like covers the pay for our super and our porter, which live here in the community in the building with us. And it also covers everything else, like the costs, like the one big electric bill for the entire building, water bill, inspections, service contracts, repairs, anything like that. That's kind of gets lumped together in the maintenance. For this building, this may be true for other habitat buildings. The maintenance that we were given was lower coming in than what it actually takes to run the building. So I stepped into the board. I started to notice right away that we were losing like 40,000, $50,000 a year. And I raised my hands. I was like, holy shit, like you guys have to pay attention. And then that worked. Um, we got something so that we could actually start to get a sustainable budget to run the building. It's not very popular to raise when you're living in an apartment to have your landlord raise rent, but it's also not popular to raise maintenance when you live in a cooperative. But I think the difference though is that piece about the profit motive from the landlords and them not doing repairs, um, that falls out of that's out of the equation when you live in a cooperative. It's better that you kind of get to control the costs of your building. I think that this apartment that I'm in right now, even though I'm living up in the Bronx, it would probably be like $600 or $700 more per month if this was a private building that they were renting. So those are my thoughts. Feel free to comment on them. I'm this is relatively new for me, but I'm going to put this up as my thoughts on YouTube. And if you want to write some comments, give me some advice, that's super cool. definitely subscribe, like the channel, put it out there. Um, this is an experiment for me doing YouTube. So I'm just going with the flow with that. All right. Peace.